checking if
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if I could please have your attention to the head table. We'll be hearing 3 different toasts. First, how about a round of applause for the father of the bride, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here. You know, it wouldn't be the same without the guests that are celebrating this union of Katherine and Brian with us. But I'd also like to thank my wife and Brian and Katherine for planning the whole thing, because I didn't have anything to do with that. I'm probably better at roasting people than I am at congratulating them or telling them how good they are, but let me give it a go here. My early memories of Katherine were a little worrisome. I thought Mommy couldn't leave her. So, Grandma nor I could watch her for more than a couple hours before, she'd basically be crying for Mommy the whole time. But then later, as she's still young, she was a little ornery and did stuff that, and maybe lied a little bit. I think Debbie was doing laundry and saw a penny on the ground, and then Katherine was around, and then a few minutes later, the penny's gone, and Katherine, I think she could barely talk, and, Debbie's trying to get it out of her, and she denied it or whatever, but I think the x-ray results were conclusive. You had eaten it. And, but everything was fine. We didn't have to, went through her naturally. So, she had another instance where she's fiddling with a lock as Grandma's taking her out with Andrew. And I think Matt was at school, but somehow the lock got locked while they went out just to play in the driveway, and it was probably a 3-hour ordeal before they got back in the house. And then the last little incident, the hair cutting incident, where she and her friend were playing and she cut her bangs off and told Mom that her friend did it. So, but I think, after the interviews, we found out it was actually Katherine. But by 10, she grew up into this responsible person. I used to call her Mommy number 2. She'd take care of her brothers. With Mom trying to get them out of the house, I don't know if it was because she wanted to leave and didn't want to see the ordeal, but she would help one or the other one with the shoe or whatever they were missing, get it on them, help them with their car seat and all that. By the time she was 12, we felt comfortable as leaving them while we may have gone out for dinner or something. And she was the de facto, babysitter at that point, even though Matt was quite a bit older than her. All the instructions went through Katherine. But, as she grew, into a teenager, we enjoyed watching her in sports, soccer, softball, and swimming. Her senior year, she tried to quit swimming, and the coach talked her into it with her teammates, and, she stayed, and they won state in the medley relay. In high school, Katherine was, she basically grew up into a young lady with grace and maturity beyond her years. She spared us from some of the common issues girls have in school, the drama, the adult boy issues, and hanging with the wrong crowd. She was our, the perfect kid at that point. She went off to Baylor, and she continued to grew as a Christian, did a couple trips, on the mission trips in the summers, met a great group of friends there, and graduated, and, is now a nurse. Just grew up that fast, and we're so proud of her. We love every minute of watching her grow up, and we're just proud. A little bit about Brian. The first time I think she'd been dating him a little while, but he came over the house, and I came home, I think it was after work, and I see him out there flying a kite with Katherine. And I come in the house, and I said, what are they doing? And so they made a kite, and I was like, why are they flying a kite? But this is one of the things Brian does. He found some scrap wood or brought it there, got some paper, and they made a kite, and they flew it together. And I guess maybe that's a little bit of your homeschooling that helped you do that. Maybe he had a little bit too much time on his hands. But, I got to, I think Debbie got to know Brian first, through this party that they both planned, and a surprise graduation party for Katherine and her friends. They graduated during COVID, and they weren't able to properly celebrate, and Debbie threw a surprise party for Katherine at the lake and got her friends and her parents down there. And we had a blast, but Brian's job was to get Katherine there on time, and he had a direct line to Debbie, and we had every little detour that you did trying to say, we can't stop here, we got to get here, and she didn't know why, and she came in and she was honestly surprised, and it was a great time. My experience with Brian is probably more, through dinners and the weekends at the lake and a recent camping trip we took. He's very personable, respectful, and helpful. It's a guy who doesn't sit still. We enjoy having him around. We have some common interest in fixing things, or figuring out how stuff works. And but what I really like is how attentive he is to Katherine. One example is they bought a house, and the first thing they did before moving furniture in, he landscaped an area so he could put her hammock in their backyard. And that was probably one of the first things they enjoyed in their new house, the backyard. And that's probably important for Katherine and Brian, and you saw it through. But seeing Katherine so happy with Brian, has been enjoyable. It's been a joy to watch their relationship grow. And I was thinking, the other thing about Brian is he can make anything out of wood. And this table's an example of it. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty incredible. He spent, I don't know why he did it, but he did it. It's like he spent hundreds of hours on it, and it's here, and that his vision is complete now. And I think all we need for it is a name, right? No, Brian, in his mind, he likes working on, unique things or figuring out unique things, and it's just great. When Brian asked for his hand in marriage, or Katherine's hand in marriage, he did it the old-fashioned way. He talked to me. We met at a Bill's Pancake House in the morning, and I told him, I said, Brian, I haven't been able to find anything wrong with you. And if you know my personality, that's probably the best compliment you get out of me. And so he got it. I want to, thank the Pets family, for welcoming Katherine in your life. And, I see her happy with you guys, and just like I think Brian's been happy with us. And we look forward to watching both grow with each family. I don't have any marriage advice for them because I think they got this thing. I do have one task left before I take my seat, and that is to honor them. Ladies, I'd like everybody to raise your glass and toast, to joining me in wishing Brian and Katherine a long, healthy, and very happy marriage together. All right.
Oh, goodness. Can everyone hear me? All right, perfect. I'm Blair. I'm Katherine's friend from high school. Just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much to the Lukens and the Pets for this amazing day. You guys did awesome. It turned out beautiful. I know it's a lot of work leading up to it, so I appreciate it, and I couldn't have imagined a better day for you guys. So Katherine and I met through high school swim team. We became pretty instant best friends because we realized how oddly similar we were, and we did a lot more talking than swimming. Katherine's a year older than me, so when she graduated, she left me no choice but to quit swim team. I had no one to talk to. We stayed in touch throughout the years. I went to see her for 6 months, and then we went on a 10-day vacation together. She's the only person I can wake up at 7 a.m., go to bed at 4 a.m., for 10 days straight and not get tired of. Not only can we spend days together, but we can spend hours and hours talking and laugh until it hurts. She's the person I can tell anything and everything to. She listens, gives good advice, and makes me feel better in any situation. She is also one of the hardest workers I know, yet somehow makes time for our family, friends, and, of course, babysitting. Now remember when I said she gives good advice? Not always. Katherine is the biggest peer pressure I know. Somehow, for example, she can make you ski down a hill without ever skiing before and truly convince you that it's a good idea. When she told me about Brian and said that they were going skydiving on their first date, I was like, this is a match made in heaven. But seriously, when I saw Brian and Katherine together, she smiled more than she ever has. She laughed, and she's not usually emotional, but she became a little bit more emotional. I always knew Katherine would be my best friend, but when Brian came into the picture, he became my best friend too. I mean, how could he not? Every time I walked into his house, or their house, or his apartment, I was greeted with a margarita. He lets me use his power tools. He'll drink an entire pot of coffee with me. And he did introduce me to my boyfriend, Kyle. Katherine and I are still convinced Kyle and Brian are the ones in love, though. All jokes aside, Brian is an amazing human. He'll help anyone in any situation. He's an amazing carpenter, as Mr. Luken pointed out. He built this table for their house. And he is the perfect person for Katherine. Anyone that knows them, loves them, and know they're perfect together. And I am beyond blessed to call them my best friends. So, in honor of the margarita maker and the margarita drinker, we're having tequila shots. And cheers to the new Mr. and Mrs. Pets. Oh, I'm nervous.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew. I'm Brian's younger brother. I'm also his best man. As some of you may know or not know, 1 year ago this month, Brian stood here giving his best man speech at my wedding. While he was speaking, I started thinking of who would be giving his speech when he got married. And while I listened to his speech, I realized there was a very good chance it would be me standing there at his wedding. Needless to say, I had quite the panic attack at my own wedding. So even though public speaking is one of my all-time greatest fears, I'm truly honored to be standing here today in celebration of Brian and Katherine. Brian and I have always had a special kind of relationship from our first years together sharing a room when I purposely rocked back and forth on my very noisy bed just to annoy him, to going through our teen years, still sharing a room, getting into countless fights, and really despising each other, and purposely going out of our way just to get back at one another. Finally, we realized that no matter how much we fought each other, we were never getting away from each other. And as we got older, we began to appreciate each other. And Brian, as much as it pains me to say this, Now that we're both moved out, and after 21 years of spending a room together, I miss sharing a room with you. All the fighting and beatings we gave each other has blossomed into being close brothers, the two middle children in it together. Now, even though as of last year I have my beautiful wife Abby here, and you have, as of tonight, have your lovely wife Katherine. Welcome to the family, Katherine. We will always be brothers, and on behalf of all your brothers here at the table with you, we'll always be there to support you and give you the occasional beat down when you need it. Now let's all raise our glasses to Brian and Katherine Petz.